Hello there, the bank holiday weekend is upon us. The weather looking fair. There's a lot of dry, sunny, warm weather around. Too good to be true? Well, we'll find out a little bit more in just a couple of minutes or so. First, our usual look around the world at all things agricultural. Starting off in Canada. Well, it's been fairly cool and showery recently here, and that's provided a bit of a boost actually for the spring crops. Also down across parts of Argentina, cool, dry weather, slowing the growth of the emerging winter grains here. Now, Western Russia has been a fairly popular place in the farming forecast over recent weeks because of relatively good conditions for the crops growing here. And again, warm, dry weather has been very favourable for the summer crops here. But we have also seen some wetter spells in recent days and weeks as well. And Northern Europe, well, we've had a very dry start to the year, of course, with below average rainfall and a deficit of moisture in the soils across parts of northern France, the Low Countries, northern Germany, that sort of thing. But rain continues to improve the soil moisture conditions here over recent days as well. Now, in terms of the forecast for the weekend, then the all-important bank holiday, except Scotland, and this is the jet stream pattern for the next few days. You can see it's actually to the north of the UK, which allows warmer weather and higher pressure then to build in from the south. And as I run this sequence through the next 7 days or so, till the middle of next week, you'll see the jet stream tries to come in, but it meets a big blocking area of high pressure. So you're left with little pieces of jet stream just sort of dwindling about, one over us, one across parts of Spain early next week. That'll be important in the forecast. But the main jet stays to the north, although by midweek, notice it is starting to shift a little bit further southeast, which may start to change our weather towards the second half of next week. But a bit of uncertainty about the timing of that at this stage. For the weekend itself, Saturday and Sunday, the setup looks a bit like this. Low pressure off to the north of the UK, a trailing weather front, a cold front sat here, and it's not going to make much progress east because it's blocked by this big area of high pressure over Eastern Europe. It's also being squeezed by this area of high pressure down towards the southwest as well. So the front will tend to weaken in situ over the weekend. It'll give rain to parts of Western Ireland, Western Scotland, but eventually dying a death. We'll have a southerly flow coming out of the continent because of the position of these lows and highs. So that will introduce some fairly warm weather, warm conditions, where we could see temperatures as high as 31, possibly 32, depending on sunshine amounts over the coming days as well. And we may also see a little bit of fog lapping onto the coasts of the North Sea, eastern Scotland, northeast England, maybe also parts of eastern Northern Ireland through the weekend as well because of the onshore breeze here. How does that compare with previous bank holidays? Well, records going back to 1965 show that actually for the whole weekend, the highest temperature we've ever recorded during the late August bank holiday, 31.5 degrees, which was recorded in Heathrow in 2001. The hottest bank holiday Monday was 28.2 degrees a couple of years ago in Holbeach. So it's possible we may break one or both of these records over the weekend. It will be really down to how much sunshine we see as to whether we just about beat those records this coming weekend. Now, for the early part of next week, this is a look at the upper pattern, about 3.5 miles above the ground, if you like. Where you see all these white lines close together, that's where the winds are strongest. So the main jet stays to the northwest of the UK for the beginning of next week, which would instinctively tell you warm, settled weather potentially because we are south of the jet stream. But actually, remember those pieces of jet energy I showed you earlier? That this here is an upper low in the upper atmosphere and another one down here across parts of Spain and Portugal as well. And they are important because it may be dry much of the time at the surface, but when you've got these little disturbances higher up in the atmosphere, they are still enough to generate some showers and thunderstorms. So it's possible late Sunday, Monday, early Tuesday, with this tracking slowly across the UK, given the warmth and humid air that we'll have over us, we could well see some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Exactly where and when and how much rain we may see, very uncertain at this early stage. So do stay in touch with the forecast over the next few days and we'll firm up on the details of that. Now, moving forward through next week, we use ensemble forecasts to identify the spread of possible outcomes. So each line we've got here is a different computer model of what it thinks the weather's going to do over the next 10 days or so. And we run that same model multiple times. Now, the red line here is the average. So what we've got here then is the potential water gain for Oban, to be representative really of Western Scotland. Now, what we mean by that is if your lines are above zero, that means you're putting more moisture into the ground than you've currently got at the beginning of the forecast here on Friday. If it goes below zero, it means your soil is drying out and you're not getting enough moisture to bring it back up to zero to maintain that equilibrium. So anything below zero indicates that evaporation is basically stronger than any rainfall you get, and vice versa. Above zero, it means you've got enough rainfall to offset the evaporation. So for Western Scotland, what you can see here is there is a clear trend to put more moisture into the surface soil than you've got right now on this Friday that we are recording this video. And actually, by the end of the 10 days, you could have as much as 50 millimetres or so extra in the soil. And this also takes into account evaporation anyway. So it does look like a fairly unsettled wet spell at times across the northwest of the UK. Now compare that to southeast England, Kent for example. This is Maidstone in Kent, and the trend is very different. You can see there's a clear downward trend here, which implies that the soils are going to dry out quite a bit over the next 10 days, and there's not a huge amount of moisture going into them. Now there are a couple of spikes in these graphs here indicating individual showers and thunderstorms that may develop perhaps on Monday, which could add a bit of moisture into the ground. But the clear trend is for evaporation to really take hold over the next 10 days, such that you may be 20 millimetres drier in the soil than you are currently. Now, also worth bearing in mind, there's lots of spikes that try to bring the soil moisture back up close to zero. So there is a trend later next week that we may see some fronts trying to come in off the Atlantic, but they will probably weaken as they move into that area of high pressure, but they might just add a little bit of moisture here and there in an otherwise very dry sort of pattern. Now, when you put the two together on the same graph, just to show the clear trend here, it shows up this northwest-southeast split quite well. So the blue line is Western Scotland, the brown line here is southeast England, and it's clear that the northwest will be getting fairly wet at times over the next 7 days, and the southeast remains drier than normal over the next 7 to 10 days as well. So if you need more information for your part of the UK, because it's highly variable depending on where you are, then do give our forecasters a call. We're available from 6 till 6 every single day. We're looking at all the data, and we can give you the information you need to make those important decisions on the harvest, for example, or if you're still trying to get a little bit of haymaking in before the end of the season. Now, looking at that in a bigger picture across Europe, and really for the next 7 days, it's pretty much above average across the board here, with reds here indicating temperatures above normal. So it's very hot across much of Europe over the next 7 days or so, and at the same time it's also very dry, which is indicated by these brown conditions here, where we are seeing drier than normal conditions across a good chunk of Europe. Now, we showed you that upper low over Spain. Well, that's going to give above average rainfall here with showers and thunderstorms, and also the higher ground through the Mediterranean, Italy, parts of Sardinia, Corsica could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms, bringing rainfall totals locally above average here as well. Now, by week 2, the heat actually shifts east. Remember, the Atlantic is trying to make more progress in by late August, early September, so the heat retreats more to sort of Eastern Europe, Western Russia by this stage, and temperatures fall closer to normal, if not even a touch below normal, across Western Europe for week 2, as I say, into early September. And that will also see an increase in rain chances developing, whether it's from fronts or, more likely, given the time of the year, showers and thunderstorms, which will be hit and miss, but could be quite locally intense, whereas the drier than normal conditions will prevail across eastern parts of Europe through the 7-day spell. As we head deeper on into September, notice the heat continues to push further east into southeast Europe, Western Russia, and sort of near average temperatures become more widespread across Central and Western Europe. And there's not a really clear signal here for above or below average rainfall in any one part of Europe. You can see there are little pockets of below average and also some pockets of slightly above average rainfall as well. But for the UK, we think overall it's going to be near or slightly above average. So we are expecting a more unsettled flavour to the weather for the first part of September across the UK, with areas of low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic, bringing us some rain, maybe some stronger winds at times as well. Now, towards mid-September, we're expecting higher pressure to develop across Scandinavia, and what that's likely to do is settle things down, but also allow temperatures to recover. Now, it's 4 weeks away. The models have got a very large spread by this range, so you're not expecting a huge amount of red or blue to show up here. But if you get weak signals showing, that usually indicates by the time you get there that it may well be a significant event potentially. So it's possible we may enter into another warm spell across much of Europe, perhaps including the UK, towards the middle part of September. In terms of rainfall, very much hit and miss depending on how many showers and thunderstorms we see, but a signal for near or below average rainfall across the UK, just indicating that things may settle down again towards the middle of September. So to summarise that, for this weekend it's pretty warm, it's dry with some good spells of sunshine away from the far northwest of the UK, but then we do see that change to something a bit cooler and more changeable late August, early September, particularly in the northwest, but eventually getting down into the southeast by the beginning of September. Overall then probably quite unsettled, I think, for the first sort of 10 days or so of September, with some showers or rain at times, but equally some ridges, not a washout. There'll be some dry and bright weather in there as well, and then overall becoming more settled, drier and warmer potentially by the time we get through to mid-September. So that's how things look for the next 4 weeks or so. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you for answering our survey we sent around to some of you last week as well. If you have any other questions, feedback, etc., do send it in to our email address or use the hashtag WQFarmingForecast on Twitter. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment down below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.